Joining us now is our good friend, Tom DeLay, the former majority leader of the House of Representatives, former congressman from the great state of Texas. Hello, Congressman. I will try that one more time. Modern technology is a wonderful thing. Hello, Congressman.
Hello, Steve. Can you hear me?
Hey, great. Yes, now I can. Great to talk to you. Thanks for joining us again. I always appreciate it.
My pleasure.
You know, to me, well, thank you. To me, I mean, one of the great stories that is just being ignored by the mainstream media on purpose, of course. My God, you talk about a war on women. How about a war on women and a war on men and everyone else? This administration has seen to it that without any repercussions, 36,000 convicted murderers, rapists, felons, you name it, have been released back into society as they were awaiting deportation hearings because they're illegal aliens.
Well, Steve, it shouldn't surprise you at all. This president has chosen not to enforce our immigration laws. He turned out in our own prison system, he's turning out low, nonviolent inmates. This whole idea of sanctuary cities, he's now creating a sanctuary nation where illegal immigrants don't have to have any problem or have no problem in breaking the law because the law enforcement within those cities and now within the United States aren't going to hold them, aren't going to arrest them, aren't going to detain them, and certainly are not going to deport them. This is just unbelievable, but it's more of this lawlessness of this president who doesn't understand the Constitution, doesn't want us to have a Constitution, and certainly doesn't believe that he, being king, has to enforce any laws.
Yeah, now there is a side to it that this was an old Supreme Court decision. When I say old, I mean several years back, that dictates they can't hold these people more than 6 months. But there are remedies to that. There are ways around that, and there are ways of telling the host countries once they decline to take these people back, which is supposed to be the first step. If they say no, then you get tough with those countries who won't take these people back. But none of that's happening.
None of it. This president won't enforce the law. You know, we don't even need immigration reform if he would just enforce the law and protect our borders and only allow those that we want to come into this nation to come in legally. This president thinks he's king and he doesn't have to enforce the law, and he's not going to. And the only way that you're going to hold him accountable is through the power of the purse. The House of Representatives has the power of the purse, and they need to start cutting his funding and cutting his spending and have that fight in front of the American people. That's the only way you're going to stop him.
Yeah, I want you to hear a soundbite from the president over the weekend. This is his radio address. This is cut 41, guys. Let's watch 41.
Hi, everybody. At a time when our businesses have created 9.2 million new jobs in just over 4 years, and more companies are considering bringing jobs back from overseas, we have a choice to make. We can make it easier for businesses to invest in America, or we can make it harder. I want to work with Congress to create jobs and opportunity for more Americans. But where Congress won't act, I will.
There he goes. He will. He says it every chance he gets.
And what he acts what he acts on is what is costing us jobs in America. He's proud of the fact that the greatest economy that man has ever seen has only created 9 million jobs. Now there's tens of millions of people that have left the workforce because there aren't any jobs. But 9 million is not something to brag about over 5 years. This is ridiculous. And he continues to lie to the American people. Now, the good news of this is the American people have had enough of this guy. They've lost all trust, and he's lost all the credibility with the American people. The polls that I've seen in the last few days, the last couple of weeks, shows that he is just disintegrating, and the Democrats are disintegrating against him. One of the major ways of stopping this president from doing what he's doing is to elect more Republicans in the upcoming election.
Let's go back to immigration for a second, Congressman. And there were reports. Bless you, I think. It's hard for me to decipher a cough between a sneeze, but I think I got a definite sneeze on that one.
Yeah.
Anyway, there was this back and forth. Valerie Jarrett saying that she's gotten the word from John Boehner's people that this summer or this is the time for immigration reform, and Boehner shot back on that, and then Valerie Jarrett backed down. But where do you think we are with that? What do you think Boehner is going to do? Is he going to, when push comes to shove, before the 2014 midterms, is he going to bring stuff to the floor that they could only pass with Democratic votes, or is he just not going to do that?
I just can't see him doing that. His caucus is absolutely divided on this, not down the middle. I think the vast majority of his caucus doesn't want to do immigration right now. Why would you want to? When you're looking at the possibility of having a good election, taking over the United States Senate, and be in a position where you have gained seats in the House and you've taken the majority in the Senate against Obama, who's an incredibly incompetent, weak president. Why would you want to do it now when you can do it next year, and if you can actually get something done? So I know John Boehner, and I just don't think he would attempt this, particularly in the face of the fact that most of his caucus don't want to do it in the first place.
Yeah, I would hope you're right. Let me let you hear something. Last week we got a couple of hints, if not outright explanations, of what Hillary and will say going forward with regard to Benghazi. First of all, she said, sure, I have regrets. Sure, I'd like, if I could have done things different, etc. But then Bill Clinton was being questioned by Gwen Ifill at some event, and he turned the conversation to Benghazi. And first of all, he praised the fact that she got this report done, which they're instituting changes now. Of course, she was never interviewed for that report. But then he had this to say. This is video number 8. Watch and listen to this one.
And they established the fact that whether it was right or wrong in the past, secretaries of state never were involved directly in these security decisions. And they also have untangled what was an early mystery at Benghazi, when all we knew was that 4 people were killed, and we know now 2 of them were heavily armed CIA contractors who were military combat veterans, and they were part of a group of 20 authorized to provide security, among other things, where they were in Benghazi.
So here's the explanation. Secretary of States never get involved, and traditionally have never gotten involved with providing security, so she's off the hook for that. And by the way, 2 of these guys who were killed were well armed, and they were part of 20 people who were, quote unquote, security. So no issue, goodbye. Is that what we're going to get?
That's what they're going to try to give us. But I think Chairman Gowdy is going to do a little bit more in-depth explanation of what actually is going on there. And I don't think the American people are going to buy it. Secretary of State has no responsibility for the security of the embassies around the world. And in this particular case, especially when the ambassador himself for weeks was begging for more security in Libya, and who sent him to Benghazi? That all of that is under the responsibility of the Secretary of State. I wouldn't call her at 3 o'clock in the morning. That's for sure.
All right, let me ask you about this horrific veterans scandal. We find out today, and we had the former head of Social Security under George W. Bush on, Michael Astrew. And he said, yes, it's very possible that the transition teams, the Obama transition team in 2008, was warned about what was going on in the Veterans Administration. And I asked him, I said, was this going on even under Bush? He said, it's quite possible, yes. So my point is, now they're feigning, again, Obama knew nothing. He's outraged. He's madder than hell, we were told on Sunday by his chief of staff. And he won't fire the guy in charge. And again, if his staff was told 5 years ago, what does that lead us to believe?
Well, Steve, everybody knows that this president has a disdain for the military. He and his wife have exhibited that time and time again over the last 5 years, and certainly before he was even president of the United States. So his focus on what's happening to the veterans has probably been absolutely missing in action. the Veterans Administration is a perfect example of what happens when the federal government controls your health care. Particularly in this way, for years, even with the Republican majority, and it's such an entrenched bureaucracy, particularly with all the veterans organizations around the country. The right thing to do is to bring some privatization to Veterans Administration. And when you have these kinds of backlogs or you can't see a doctor, then you ought to be able to go to the doctor and let the VA pay for it. That's a very simple solution to this whole problem, but to getting it done is another matter. And most importantly, you have to have a president and a Veterans Administration that wants to do something for the veterans rather than for the bureaucrats.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I got one more for you, Congressman. Michelle Obama was in Topeka, Kansas at a high school graduation over the weekend, talking about the anniversary of Brown v. Board of Education. And here's some of what she had to say, 44.
Today, by some measures, our schools are as segregated as they were back when Dr. King gave his final speech. And as a result, many young people in America are going to school largely with kids who look just like them. And too often, those schools aren't equal, especially ones attended by students of color, which too often lag behind, with crumbling classrooms and less experienced teachers.
She went on to say the issue is so sensitive, it's so complicated, so bound up with a painful history. I'm not sure what she's pushing for. Is she looking for busing? I don't know what her solution would be, but certainly it's not charter schools, it's not vouchers, it's not any of those solutions that would work and have worked elsewhere.
Now what she's pushing for is racism. Michelle Obama and Barack Obama can't do anything unless there's a certain amount of race involved in it. We have, frankly, improved our public schools all across this nation. We're spending tons more money than we ever have. Yes, there's some places, particularly in the inner cities, where leftist organizations like in Detroit or Washington, D.C. or others have completely destroyed the education system. But mostly around the country, race has no part being played in our educational system. And they just want to keep that going because it keeps people motivated to see their point of view, their world of view, and follow them right over the cliff.
Congressman, always great to talk to you. Love your candor and passion, and thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, Steve. Always good to be with you.
Thank you. Tom DeLay, ladies and gentlemen, former Majority Leader of the House of Representatives and Congressman from the great state of Texas. All right, we're going to come back, and we're going to be joined by the chairman of the RNC, 2 parts. He'll be with us. Reince Priebus will be here, of course, so don't miss it. We have plenty to talk about with him. He was on Meet the Press yesterday, did an excellent job, and can't wait to talk to him, and you will get to hear that and see that, by the way, on the Steve Malzberg Show.